Hey everybody, just over 6 months ago on January 1st, 2020, I began my journey traveling the United States of America. Now before I left, I decided to build out the back of my truck here, and this is where I live. This is basically my home while I'm on the road. So inside of this space, I have my bed, I have a fridge, I have a stovetop, a place to cook, and just a bunch of other different storage places. Now, when I left on the 1st of January, the setup looks very similar to what you see right now, but I have since made a few changes. Now, I took a break from traveling, and halfway through June, I took about 2 weeks to kind of recoup in Indiana, which is where I live. And before leaving for the second leg of my journey, there were some changes that I wanted to make to my setup. Now, I did a video a few months ago talking about a few of the changes that I would have made. And in this video, you're gonna see a few things that I did that kind of goes hand in hand with what I explained in that video. And a few of the changes that I wanted to make, I actually did make. So if you watch a lot of my videos, one of the first changes that you may see right off the bat is this area that I'm sitting. Now in my previous setup, this area was not here, but as you can see, it kind of makes sense. It allows me to, use my bed as a desktop, as a surface to work on, and yeah, I mean, it's just been great to have this place to sit, because before it was only here to store clothes. And I'll show you a picture of what it looked like before, but if you want to see a full tour of my previous setup, you can go ahead and click the link in the top of the video right now. But I do have my computer in front of me here. I have all the footage from the main change that I made to my setup, which was creating this seat here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a look at that footage and walk you guys through exactly what I did. So as you can see right here, this is a picture of my setup when everything was taken out and before I made any changes to the storage unit right there. And right here you'll see a video just kind of giving you guys some perspective on what it looked like and how much space it actually took up. And you can see I have those two top storage units, which as you can see here, I no longer have. I simply cut them out. So as you guys can see right here, I go ahead and hop up into the truck, and I had already unscrewed the screws that were holding the unit into the truck. And if you're curious about kind of the original design and what went into it, I made a video about my original construction, so you can go ahead and click the link in the top of this video and you'll be able to view that. So as you can see here, I finally was able to get that unit out of the truck, and it wasn't too heavy. So I just went ahead and I sat it down on the ground and began making some measurements for what I wanted to remove. Incredibly weird to see the back of my living space without one of the storage areas. But we went ahead, popped it out, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and remove this entire area. So when it's inside, there's a nice place to sit. So we'll go ahead and start disassembling, and we'll reinstall the unit. Right here, I just go ahead and unscrew many of the screws that were holding the unit together. Of course, that was necessary in order to remove the top two shelves there to create this seat. Once I was able to get the top off there, I thought it was kind of funny that the knife rack was still attached, and it was just kind of weird to have a knife rack attached to the bottom of a board, but you can see that I thoroughly enjoyed it here. I went ahead, put the top back on, lined everything up, took some measurements, and figured out exactly where I needed to cut using the jigsaw to create a fairly square edge there. So you can see I'm using the pencil to kind of give me a gauge of how deep that sidewall is there. And as you can see, I did a pretty good job of it. Once I got everything measured, I kind of just used a piece of wood that I had laying around to draw a straight line. And that's going to be the line that I used the jigsaw to cut on. I took some more measurements. I went ahead and grabbed a straight edge and drew this line straight across, just so I could have a nice flush line to cut on. It's going to be much easier to cut that little section out with the jigsaw if it's laying down, as opposed to having to cut while it's standing up. So I went ahead and laid it down, and this is when I actually used the straight edge, because it was much easier to just lay it on there as opposed to holding it. So I went ahead and laid it down, took my markings, and then I finally went ahead and grabbed the jigsaw. So as you can see here, I'm beginning my cut. It kind of backfires on me a little bit there, but I changed the setting to start the cut, get a little bit of a faster blade speed, and I get right back at it. Now, just to make sure I wasn't running into any screws, I went ahead and pulled those 3 out, as you can see, and I was right back at it. Now, once I hit the corner here, I went ahead and pulled the jigsaw out and started from the edge once again, and it was just much easier to just start from the edges and meet in the corner than having to try and make that turn. Here I am finishing up the cut, and the cutoff kind of just sits right there. But yeah, there it is. And once it's off there, the full-on image of what is ultimately in the truck now kind of comes to life. I started to remove some more parts of the storage unit that didn't really need to be there, so you can see me just snapping off the back there. And eventually I'm going to be putting that top back on so I can have a surface over those 3 cabinets there. So as you can see here, I have the top kind of leaned up against the side, and once I get it back on top and line up the corners, I'm ready to kind of draw my line. And I didn't get it on footage, but I took this piece of wood into the shop and made 1 cut on the table saw, and that gave me the perfect edge that I needed to match that line. So here I am realigning the knife holder onto the underside of the top there. I finally got all 3 screws in, placed the top back over the 3 cabinets and the access door, and I screwed it down. And now it's really coming to life. I mean, now you can really see what it's gonna look like and how it's gonna fare. And you can see me kind of testing out the seat there. That was a pretty cool feeling. So I moved everything out of the way, and I go ahead and throw the unit up on top, push it in a little bit, then I hop up in there and just kind of wiggle it into place. It's a nice tight fit. As you can see up against the sidewall there, I have that nice cutout, so it just fits in there perfectly. And once she's in, I mean, you can already see the changes. It just opened up a bunch of room just having that corner out. I mean, as you can see right now, it's just crazy how much I can move, how much more beneficial this area is to me now, with it being a seat as opposed to it being clothing storage. So definitely a huge plus was making that change. In addition to that huge change, which has really transformed the way this area works, I also have decided to get rid of a ton of my stuff. I didn't really document too much of it, but a ton of the stuff that I brought on the first trip, I simply don't have this time around for my second leg. I ditched the cargo bag up top, so all of that stuff is not with me, increases my gas mileage as well. I also don't have these 2 drawers anymore to store stuff in, so I had to make some space in the big pull-out drawer, which I have done. And beyond that, basically everything else is the same. I can go ahead and show you one other thing that I've done. And I used to have some insulation on these sidewalls here and here, but I went ahead and took those out. It gives me more space, and it would just be brutal in the summer to have additional insulation. And with all that being said, those are the changes that I made, and I'm off on my second leg. I'm currently 11 days in after leaving on the 1st of July. I'm currently in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and there's many more adventures to come. I'll be heading west in the next few weeks, so when you watch this, there's going to be plenty of video already out there for you to watch. So if you guys have any questions at all about some of the changes that I've made, or anything that you've seen in this video or any of my other videos, please do not hesitate to ask. And with all of that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.